Here in New York, Rieder of BlackRock, Anastasia Amoroso of JPMorgan Private Bank, Michael Collins of PGIM Fixed Income, and from London, Mohamed El-Erian of Allianz and, of course, of Bloomberg Opinion. Mohamed, let's bring you into the conversation from London first. I asked the question to Mike, your definition of full employment, and have we actually met it?
We haven't as yet, and you had in this report an encouraging increase of 0.2 percentage points in labor participation and in the employment to population ratio. So that suggests that we are pulling more people in to the labor force, which is good news. In fact, from an economic perspective, there's a lot to like about this report. Job creation, wage growth, labor participation, it all tells you that the economy and the consumer are still in a good place. Now, looking forward, we have to take into account what's happening in the rest of the world. But as a snapshot of where we are, it confirms that the U.S. economy is in a good spot.
Anastasia, you like what you see?
I definitely do. I think this is a very telling jobs report in a sense that momentum is definitely turning in the right direction. So the fact that we created 225,000 jobs and the 3-month average is about 221 now is very supportive. So we're definitely trending higher than we were this time last year. And then you couple that with some of the other data points that we've seen on PMIs and ISMs and just consumer confidence picking up as well. So it does seem to me that coronavirus notwithstanding, the momentum in the U.S. economy is definitely trending up.
That's the challenge here, though. Futures down 1/3 of 1%. Just how much weight should this particular payrolls report carry, Rick, when we haven't seen the China impact hit this market yet?
So, I think, there are payroll reports. You sit around and you think about how you're going to reposition the portfolio. What are you going to do relative? This is one of those payroll reports that you looked at and said, God, not that important. The other things in the world are important. And all you wanted to know, are we continuing along in terms of the growth? And like Mohamed said, these numbers are impressive. We're clearly not at full employment. If you're the Federal Reserve, you sit back and put your feet up. You got core PCE inflation under 160. There's nothing to do from the Fed's perspective. And the one thing I will throw out, a comment you all made about growth in the world. Look at the German data that came out today. I think it was the slowest. It was the greatest rate of descent in terms of their economy since 2009. You've got a U.S. economy that's operating extremely well. We can talk a lot about negative rates. Ultimately, they'll get there and spur that economy. They don't work. But I think this is powerful. The U.S. economy is in good shape. Fed doesn't have to do anything.
Factory orders out of Germany, Mike, the worst this decade. Industrial output, which Rick has touched on, the biggest drop since the financial crisis. In the United States, everything I look at says durable, rock-solid U.S. labor market. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the U.S. is clearly the bright spot in the world right now, right? It'll be interesting to see if the effects of the coronavirus eventually come to our shores, right? And I think there's going to be a large time lag before we see that. But I think the interesting thing about today's number is the market's reaction to it, right? How you're seeing the curve flattening, rates rallying, stock futures not moving, and the markets are looking through this. I mean, my sense of the labor market is the reason everybody expected job growth to wane is because typically when people turn 65, they leave the job market, and that hasn't happened. The older people haven't fallen off. They keep working. I can't tell you how many people I see who have retired and come back and they're driving Ubers or whatever, working in the economy somewhere. So that's really what's happening in the job market. And eventually that has to change, right? And eventually the markets will look through that and say job growth ultimately will slow.